Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me well? Audio is good? All right, great. First of all, happy World Mental Health Day to everybody. And it's my honor to be here today to share with you a little bit of my experience and also a fairly new topic, I would say, on the gut-brain axis, specifically on the mental wellness and in general. So I would like to share my screen. Just give me a moment. Can you all see? Yes? Okay, great. Okay. So first of all, let me just take this more on a casual tone. This is not going to be a long lecture, so it's going to be something very simple. So the approach is basically just to introduce a topic to you, to have a sense of like what this gut-brain axis is all about, and then probably to give you a bit of a direction in terms of like okay, now you know that there's such thing as gut-brain axis, and how does it affect your overall mental health, and what's next, what can you do about it, right, in terms of improving your overall mental health per se. So on that note, this is what I'm going to cover on a sequential basis. Just wanted to throw that idea out there. Like, have you ever like had this feeling like whenever you are anxious or nervous about something? For example, like now I'm sharing this talk about gut-brain axis. I'm quite nervous at this point, so probably I would have some reaction. Like I feel like, oh, there's something like butterflies in my tummy, or there's the gut wrenching feelings there. And all this actually a very typical example of how actually our brain are actually on active communication with our guts, and they are actually talking to each other and influencing how we feel, how we react, and how our mood are. So this is what the gut-brain axis is all about. So basically, it refers to the two-way communication between the gut and the brain, where signals are actually sent in both directions via the vagus nerve, which is one of the longest nerve system in our body. And we also know that, interestingly, 80 to 90% of this nerve fiber of the vagus nerve are actually found in the gut. And therefore, they become like a super highway that connects between your guts to your brain. And over recent years, which in fact not really recent, over I think the past 10, 20 years, more and more research has been focusing on this gut-brain axis, where there are numerous studies that found this relationship between symbiotic relationship of this gut biomes who stays in our gut, also contribute or has certain effect on our overall mood and how we feel, right? So in the form of they produce certain neurotransmitter and also certain hormones that actually communicate with our brain and influence the overall mental health state of your this. So on that note, why this matters? Why today I bring up the issues about this gut-brain axis? Given that this is a bi-directional communication, meaning to say that any misfiring or alteration of signaling due to the state of the gut will have certain effect on the neuropsychiatric per se. So we also found that there are numerous this bacteria that resides in our gut has a very direct influence on the level of certain hormones or neurotransmitter. For example, like the serotonin, which is the happy hormone, GABA, which has a mood calming effect, or acetylcholine, and so on and so forth. And besides that, we also got to know that this gut microbiome, which is the bacteria that living in our gut, also produces a byproduct of what we call this metabolite that has certain action on this the activation of the microglia or and thus modulating certain inflammation reaction in your body. And all this cumulatively has a direct impact on a person's health and feelings. And therefore, I think this is something that worth exploring in in how we can actually better maintain or enhance our mental health beyond pharmaceutical. So as you can see from this graph, of course, the gut-brain axis is part and parcel of the equation. But besides that, we also found that the gut microbiome, or the balance in our gut health system, will also have certain effect on our immune system, on our endocrine system, and also its byproduct or the metabolite also have certain direct impact on the overall health per se. So just to highlight to you, this happy hormone thing, the serotonin, actually we found that the bacteria in our gut actually produce more than 90% of the serotonin that are found in our body. So this serotonin plays a key role in our regulating our mood, which gives us the feel-good effect. And besides that, it also regulates our sleep, where it helps with the production of melatonin, which also regulate our sleep-wake cycle. And furthermore, serotonin also has a role to play in terms of our appetite control, bowel control, and therefore, if you look at it as an overall, basically just one serotonin itself has already a very direct impact on overall mental health state. And besides that, of course, there are many more neurotransmitters which has been found that are also part and parcel of the metabolites that are produced by the gut bacteria, which has an effect on us. So meaning to say that in the event that there's this imbalances in the microbiome, which is the bacteria that resides in our gut system, will actually have an impact on how our body actually functions. So this a term of micro imbalance actually refers to dysbiosis, where actually it will result in intestinal cellular inflammation. And if you can see from this picture here, when there's this is our lining of our gut, and this is where all the food are being digested and then being transmitted over this single layer of cell, which has tight junction, and over to our system, where our body will then absorb all these nutrient for use and its metabolite as well. However, in the event that there's this ongoing imbalances of the gut microbiome, what happens is that the protective layer, especially the gut mucosal layer, will diminish, and resulting in this inflammation of this single cell layer, and therefore you will see that it become like having a very porous or leaky situation where partially digested food, pathogens, and so on and so forth can easily pass through this layer of cell into our system, resulting in chronic inflammation or systemic inflammatory response. So besides that, we also found that a reduction of a certain good bacteria that has an effect, for example, in the production of serotonin per se, would actually disrupt or alter the signaling, therefore rendered a person feeling in a certain way, and so on and so forth. And this goes with the saying that you are what you eat, in a way. Yeah. So let's explore what are some of the factors that actually can cause a microbiome imbalances. So of course, everyone is born with a certain set of genetics, and this has a predetermined, and therefore it actually predetermine the gut microbiota and the types of strains of different good bacteria that resides in it. And besides that, modifier environmental factors like the use of medication, pollutions of our water system, our air pollution, or environmental pollution will also have a certain impact on our gut system. The hormone level, the diet especially, which plays a super important role here, which I'm going to emphasize on later part of the presentation. Your ethnicity, the use of medications like chemotherapy, your stress level, hygiene level, the use of substance like cigarette smoking or alcohol, will all have a certain effect on our microbiome. Yeah. So now, what can you do? Right. So we know that in order to maintain a wellness or a good gut health per se, we need a few things. Number one, of course, the stress management part, which which is where this mental health talks is highly relevant. How do we manage our stress and our day-to-day living, mindfulness and all that would help to a certain extent. Nutrition is what I'm going to focus today. And besides that, of course, your physical activity level, as you know, if you exercise more, you will have more of these feel-good hormones in your system, and thus making you feeling more elevated in a way. Your mindset as well, right? And your sleep pattern. And to zoom in on nutrition per se, and this is where I'd like to introduce to you the 4R concept, which is remove, replace, rebalance, and reset. So what this 4R is all about in nutrition. So for remove and replace, basically it refers to the type of food that you're consuming. So we want to remove or minimize our exposure to as much as possible things like simple carbohydrates, highly ultra processed food like canned food and so on and so forth. Try to have a certain or a regular pattern of eating. You do not need to be very specific in terms of doing calorie counting and so on, but more of eating in a mindful way, right? So when you remove something from your overall diet, then you must also learn to replace them with something more nutritious or more, we call it the whole food approach, right? So when it comes to that, there are many different categories of food that will be an ideal choice to promote good gut health, which in turn will help to improve your overall mental health perspective. So things like whole grain, fruits, lots of fruits and vegetables, in 5 different colors, legumes, nuts and seeds, which give you very good antioxidant as well as sources of good omega-3. Even fermented foods such as kefir, yogurt, cheese, and so on and so forth. So all these cumulatively will have an impact on how our gut microbiome balance would be like, right? So especially when you have a lot of all this diversity in your diet, you have more than 20 to 30 types of different fruits and vegetables in a week. All this will actually help to diversify and help the survival or the of this good bacteria. So I keep repeating on the terms like good bacteria, good bacteria. So basically, it refers to these probiotics. So I'm sure that many of you would not be foreign to this term nowadays, given this importance, and already there are many people who are promoting the use of probiotics and prebiotics. So probiotics are actually referring to what I've been talking all this long, which is the good bacteria. And prebiotics are actually the food for the good bacteria, usually in the form of soluble fiber or insoluble fiber. So when the good bacteria consume or residing in our system, it needs to thrive. So in order for it to thrive, then you need to know what to feed to this good bacteria so that it can actually have substantial numbers in your system to have a good overall health effects. And things like artichoke, asparagus, sourdough, kefir, yogurt, and all that will actually are examples of food that will give you either one probiotics or prebiotics or both probiotics and prebiotics. Yeah. So lastly, of course, after you re-inoculate your system with good strain of bacteria, what you would like to do next would then help your body to go into this healing phase, which we call it reset. So in order for our body to heal itself or to repair the damage done previously, for example, the inflammation on your intestinal lining, as I presented previously, it's very important to have protein as one of the key ingredient. Yeah. And besides that, we also encourage, as I mentioned, to have lots of to replace your diet with lots of this variety, especially from fruits and vegetables, which we know that there's plenty of this good substance known as the phytonutrient or the plant nutrient, which is not the essential nutrient per se, but has certain effect. For example, they serve as antioxidant, they serve as food for these good bacteria to thrive, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So on that note, before I move on further, just to remind you the principle or the essential key message on nutrition, which is on the BMV. Okay, it's not the BMW, it's the BMV. So where balance is very important. So remember to have a variety in your diet in terms of a mixture of different types of food on a daily basis, and try to have as wide as possible. Do not restrict yourself, but remember the two. One is, of course, balance. Balance when it comes to the ratio between the macronutrients, for example, the carbohydrates, the protein, and the fat, and also moderation. Moderation is super important here because I get a lot of questions from people where they ask, like, can I eat durian? Can I eat jackfruit? Can I eat white rice, and so on and so forth? To me, you can eat everything, right? So all it matters is the amount that you're eating at that one point of time, and not too much, not too little. Practice moderation. It will be a very important message here. So I would like to show you like example of how this concept of remove and replace can be applied on a daily basis. One of the simplest or easiest approach will be using the My Healthy Plate approach. So the Healthy Plate approach actually capitalize on the fact that you should have a good amount of high quality protein. So this can come from either animal products, or it can be non-animal products like tofu, tempeh, and so on, right? And then you have moderate amount of carbohydrates to give you instant energy, so that you can last the day. And most importantly would be to have lots and lots of different colors of vegetables on your plate. So this can vary from the cruciferous like broccoli, cauliflower, and so on and so forth, to leafy greens, like spinach, and stuff. So the idea is that try to beautify your plate, or have this motivation to put as many colors as possible on your plate on a daily basis, and that will assure you that you will be able to get sufficient amount of good both macro and micronutrient. Yeah. So going back to this slide again. So the second part of the equation, which is rebalance and reset, which is again I'd like to emphasize, now that you have know the right approach of eating and enhancing your intake with variety, with a good balance of the macros and the micronutrients, and then having moderate amount. The second part of the equation would be on how you would like to reintroduce a certain strain of good bacteria into your system, so that it helps your system to re-regulate what we have mentioned just now, which is the gut-brain axis per se, and how we can actually enhance or improve the environment of your gut, so that this good bacteria can thrive better and can sustain itself, and then will have a good health effect on your the production of this neurotransmitter, which is highly relevant to the state of your mental health or your mood. Yeah. So and I'd like to also emphasize to you the importance of this chart here, where you see different colors of different types of fruits and vegetables, which has been known to have certain specific function, right? So all these are actually important because they actually serve as also as the prebiotics to your to the good bacteria as a food, or to the good bacteria, so that they can actually thrive. Yeah. So in summary, what I'd like to share with you today basically is to introduce this gut-brain axis, which is actually the two-way communication between the gut and the brain, where a imbalance of this biosis can actually alter the neurotransmitter signaling and misfiring, and resulting in a change in mood or feelings or your overall mental well-being. So it all starts with the gut. So now in functional medicine, we always try to figure out what is the root cause of certain disorder. And as you know, there are many people who are actually not in a good mental health state, and had to resort to the use of medication and so forth, so on and so forth. And as we move ahead, I think we have to start somewhere, and gut is really a good place to start with. By improving your gut using the 4R approach, hopefully you will be able to improve your overall mental health wealth and well-being. So that's it from me. Thank you so much. If I would like to open the floor for questions, if any.